Welcome, everyone, to WagerTalk Extra. I am Andy Lang, filling in for Dan. We've got a great show for everybody. We're going to be talking with Kevin Dolan here about some soccer and some boxing. WagerTalk Extra, where we always remind you all the money spends the same when you cash these winning plays in these sports, these plays you may not be aware of. So we're bringing in Kevin Dolan. I love talking to this guy. Kevin has always been one of my favorites. We love some of the same sports, especially Formula One. But we're going to go to soccer first. Kevin, thanks for being here. I know you've got to play in an Irish league. So first off, tell everyone what league this is in so we know where to look when we're trying to play this, and then tell us about the teams and what your play is.
Yeah, Friday night action over in Ireland, Irish Premier Division and the Airtricity League. Obviously not the elite of Europe, but we're going to take a look at the game on Friday, like I said, between UCD and Bohemians over in Dalymount Park in Dublin. Both of these teams are in some of the worst form in the league right now as well. Definitely don't tune into this one if you're looking for a spectacle, but as you said at the start, it all pays the same. UCD have been an absolute dumpster fire all season, especially away from home. They remain the only team in the league yet to win a single game on the road this season, and they face a Bohemian side in this one who own the league's third worst form over the last 10 games as well. So most of those issues for both teams have come on the defensive end, more so than offensively. They're just not keeping it out at the back. Bohemians have kept just one clean sheet across the last 5 league games, and all UCD are allowing an astronomical 3.25 goals against per game this season away from home as well. So I believe this one's pretty simple. I think it goes over the total on Friday. UCD have allowed 22 goals across just the last 5 road starts to opponents. However, on the offensive end, they've also found the back of the net in 3 of those 5 contests as well. So this game is lined at a straight 3 right now. And given how poor, as we mentioned, both teams have been defensively of late, it's a matchup that I believe we see a minimum of 3 goals in on Friday, likely 4 or 5.
I'm laughing. You had me cracking up. I didn't know what your breakdown was going to be, but I didn't expect dumpster fire and horrible form to be used to describe the two teams. But it's a great look. You got these two teams that cannot play any defense. Absolutely, over is the way to go. Thank you, Kevin. I needed that good laugh. Absolutely fantastic. Moving on to boxing. Kevin, I know you have a big play for a big fight that's coming up. So tell us about your big play. I know you got a 5%er, and then we're going to talk about Donaire and Santiago. So tell everyone about your big play, where we can find you at, and then let's break down Donaire and Santiago.
Yeah, massive 5% play locked and loaded for this week's main event, Andy, between, I don't even need to introduce this one. Errol Spence Jr., Terence Crawford. This is a fight that's been years in the making. It's finally here now. And look, I've always favoured the one fighter in this one. As soon as the line got released, I fired on it. We've been on a fantastic run in boxing late as well. Came off a big winner on Naoya Inoue in midweek on Tuesday over in Japan. We were up 5 units the weekend before that. And we cashed our last big 5% step-out winner in boxing when Gervonta Davis knocked out Ryan Garcia back in April. So I'm expecting another big unit haul this Saturday, obviously. And, just from a fan perspective, really, really looking forward to this one on Saturday.
We're taking a look at Donaire and Santiago. Let's cash a free play. Let's cash a 5% play. And I love where you're going there. We want some violence in this fight. We want a KO. So tell us what prop you like and what fighter you think is going down.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the main undercard fight on this Terence Crawford Errol Spence card. Nonito Donaire, look, he's a Hall of Famer already, 4-weight world champion, only one of 6 boxers ever to hold the title in 3 consecutive decades. And despite his advanced age of 40, he just keeps on delivering in fights. A lot of people have been waiting for the drop-off from the Filipino great because of that age. They thought it might come against Inoue in that first fight. Instead, he easily gave Inoue the toughest test of his career today. Took him the distance, the only man to do so over the last 10 fights. They then thought it might come in his next fight against Nordine Bali. He went into that one as the underdog, and then he got the knockout in the 4th round, put Bali down multiple times in that fight as well. So, Donaire, he got a 4th round knockout after that as well. So he just keeps on proving people wrong. He's got that prodigious power as well. Can turn off your lights with one punch. He broke Inoue's orbital bone. He broke his nose in that first fight. But obviously, coming off a loss in his last fight, anyway, got the revenge, knocked him out in the second round. So people are, questioning Donaire ahead of this one as well, because of that brutal knockout in his last fight. In terms of who he's facing this week, though, Alexandro Santiago, really solid fighter himself. His 27-3-5 record really doesn't tell the full story of his career to date either. He pushed Gary Antonio Russell all the way in their fight back in 2021. He beat Antonio Neves, drew with Jerwin and Cajas as well. So this guy is peak tough. He's never been stopped over his career so far. And that majority decision loss against Russell has been his only loss over the last 8 years. So he's obviously coming here to win. But, for me, revisiting those past few fights of Santiago's, he does get tagged a little too often in fights for me. Tends to rely too much on backing out in straight lines, using his legs for defense. And I just don't see that working against a fighter, as experienced as Donaire is. He was getting tagged far too often flushing his fight against Russell. And Cass almost caught him with a thunderous right hook early in their fight as well. And if he's taking those same kind of shots off Donaire on Saturday, he may as well pack a pillow for this one. So I think there's some decent value on the Donaire to win by stoppage, probably plus 200 in this one. Power's the last to go. That's what they always say. And not many fighters hit harder than Nonito Donaire does. So, yeah, Donaire by stoppage for me, plus 200. I think that's a great price this Saturday on the undercard of Spence Jr. versus Crawford.
Love it, Kevin. Donaire, he's not old. He's seasoned. He's experienced. He's wise. We'll go with that. So, what a great breakdown on a 2-1 play there, Kevin. Thank you so much, guys. I'm saying this because I believe it. There's nobody better breaking down boxing than Kevin Dolan. So happy to have him at WagerTalk, and he's got a 5% play up for one of the biggest fights of the year, if not the biggest. So go ahead and grab that at WagerTalk.com. Great play in one of the Irish leagues with two teams that are not very good to watch, but they could be fun to see a lot of goals. And then we got you a 2-1 free play on Donaire by KO. So Kevin, great work once again. Good luck on that 5% play. I will be playing it as well. You guys should too. Thanks very much, Kevin. Let's cash. Let's have a great weekend. Welcome, everyone, to WagerTalk Extra. I am Andy Lang. We're going to be breaking down the Belgian Grand Prix. And the biggest thing is just it's going to rain. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. It's going to pour on Friday. It looks like it's going to rain a lot on Saturday. Sunday, conflicting reports. Hopefully, it's a little bit dry. Rain is definitely going to be a part of it on Sunday. So we'll do our best to break it down, but be cautious with your bets. So here's what we know. On Friday, they will have a practice session in the morning, and then they will qualify. That will set the lineup for the race that is on Sunday. On Friday, it is going to rain. They are going to be practicing in the rain, and they are going to be qualifying in the rain. On Saturday, it is all about the sprint shootout and the sprint race. This will not affect Sunday's race at all. They will have a session in the morning that will determine the starting lineup for the sprint race. Then they will do the actual sprint race. My best guess is it's going to be raining through most of this. So it could help us to read what's going to happen on Sunday. Like we'll have a practice session and qualifying on Friday. We may have some sprint races in the rain. And if it rains on Sunday, we'll at least know who's good in those. So let's take a look at some of, first let's take a look at the track. Huge track here. So you see that huge long straightaway, and then, you see turns 15 kind of opens up into 16 and 17, which is another kind of a big stretch. They got slowed down by some really sharp turns. And at this point, I just don't think there's a track that you can say this is not a Max Verstappen track. It's just every track is his. But I believe the record for the fastest lap here is like 1 minute and 46 seconds. That means it's huge. This track is it's legendary. Rain seems to affect it all the time. We had the race a few years ago where I think they went out and ran one lap and then came in, and then they just called the race. So that was a fun weekend. So yeah, it's a pretty cool track. Unfortunately, we're just not going to see him be able to really open up the cars and get the most out of the speed. So what you have to know, I mean, Max is he's going to be the favorite. And the thing about Max, he runs great in the rain. So when we're looking at betting on Max to win, he's just like, he's good in the rain. He's good in the dry. The guy just kind of has it all. He's minus 360, as you see here on the betting notes, to win the race. And guess what? It's still a really good price. We keep talking about this. It's minus 300. And you said, well, minus 300, not betting that. Yeah, he won by 33 seconds last week. So I use him in parlay pieces. It's kind of becoming one of, if not the best bet in all of sports right now. He's won 8 races in a row, and there's just doesn't seem to be any competition for him. Um, 2 races in a row that McLaren cars have finished ahead of both Ferrari cars. This is a real changing of the guard here. McLaren with Lando Norris and Piastri finishing ahead of the Ferrari cars. That is monumental. Nobody would have predicted that at the beginning of the year, but this is the reality that we're living in, that Ferrari cannot get their act together. Their strategy is a disaster. The drivers are not on the same page. Both drivers just called out the entire team this week and said, we got to get it together. They're arguing over the radio. So McLaren over Ferrari, this is a real thing that's happening, and we have to be betting on it. Daniel Ricciardo made his his return back to Formula One, and he did finish ahead of his AlphaTauri teammate, first race back. That's a great sign for him. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get any value because, let's face it, if the Formula One crowd is going to be betting on Daniel Ricciardo, not against him, I'm guessing he's going to be matched up against his teammate in head-to-heads. And to finish ahead of his teammate in his first race back means it's probably going to get better and better. And so that bet is probably going to be safe to take Daniel Ricciardo over his teammate. And listen, we know what's going on here. Daniel Ricciardo is auditioning for Sergio Perez's seat in 2025. So we know AlphaTauri, who works hand in hand with Red Bull, you got to believe Daniel Ricciardo is going to be getting the best car and all the resources. They want to see what they got. So Ricciardo over his teammate looked like that's going to be a safe bet. And finally, the Aston Martins, they're just falling off. Don't have the pace in qualifying. They don't have the pace in the race. Their best finishes the last 3 races. And this is combined between Lance Stroll and Alonso, 5th, 7th, and 9th. They're starting to tail off. I mean, Alonso was finishing on the podium to begin the year, and now he's struggling to make it inside the top 10. So it doesn't feel like they've done anything wrong. It's just, the McLarens bring the upgrades. So, okay, now they're faster. Mercedes did the upgrades early. Okay, now they're way faster. And Red Bull, of course, is faster. So Aston Martins, they're a bet against, not a bet on. So that's what I'll be looking at. And then I do have to mention Alpine, their stock has got to be the lowest it's going to be for the entire season. They both went out real early last week, finished last and second to last. Their speed has fallen off. We used to bet Esteban Ocon top 10, but now he's finished 14th or worst in 4 out of the last 5 races. So Alpine used to be a bet on, but we're done betting on them. Maybe the books are just like Alpines are at the lowest, and we get some decent head-to-heads against somebody like Logan Sargent or some of these lesser teams. But right now, Alpines are a layoff. So we are going to be monitoring the weather closely. We do have plays that are already up at wagertalk.com. We have a couple of F1 plays that you can get. Normally, we bet on qualifying. Looks like that's just not going to be possible because it's going to be raining on Friday. But with this weather, we could have some really, really nice betting opportunities if the weather falls the right way on Sunday. So our plays for the race will be coming out Sunday when we know what's going on with the weather. But just don't get too hasty and make a bunch of bets since we don't know what's going on with the weather. But follow me on Twitter. I'm at Bunt Sports. We'll keep everyone up to speed with that. So good luck, everyone, on your bets. All my auto racing plays can be found at WagerTalk.com. Never had a losing season in auto racing since joining WagerTalk. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Good luck on your bets, and we will see everyone next week.